The film begins with a girl named Gwen. She arrives at a motel to apply for a part-time job where the owner is Teddy. Teddy needs someone to work the night shift at the motel. Upon entering the motel, Gwen finds the reception area empty. The hotel was in a deserted place and had very few guests. Gwen was feeling scared here. She starts looking for Teddy in this motel, and suddenly someone appears in front of her, which makes her scream. The other person also screams, and she realizes it was Teddy. Teddy and Gwen talk about the job, and Gwen says, "Relax, I have experience with this job. I'll handle everything." Teddy takes her around the hotel and shows her the storeroom, mentioning that the lock on the door is broken. Whenever she opens the storeroom, she'll need to place a brick to hold the door. Otherwise, it might get jammed. She wondered if there had been an accident here or if the place was haunted. There was also a pool in the motel, which was now in a very bad state. Teddy says that last year there was a big hole in the pool. They made many efforts to fix it, but it couldn't be repaired, so the pool is still closed. After the hotel tour, Teddy says, "Okay, I have some work to do. I'm leaving now. If you get hungry, here's a menu. There's a hotel nearby. You can order food from there." As he was leaving, Gwen says, "Give me a weapon." Teddy turns and asks, "Why do you need a weapon? If you think this hotel is haunted or something like that, let me tell you, there's nothing like that here." Teddy says, "You can call the police," but Gwen insists, saying, "No, I just need a weapon because it takes more than 30 minutes for the police to arrive here." Teddy says, "All right, there's a knife and an axe behind you. If something happens, use them and kill your enemies." Anyway, he was joking. Now he gets serious and tells Gwen, "Listen, I have no enemies and there's no problem. If you see any problem, you can call me." After Teddy leaves, Gwen goes back to the hotel and sees large rats in the hotel. There was only one guest in the motel where Gwen knocks. She actually wanted to ask the guest if they needed anything. As soon as Gwen knocked, the door opened and she found a strange girl there. Her hands were red, she didn't open the door fully, and it wasn't clear what was going on inside. Gwen asks something but then shakes her head, says no, and closes the door. After that, Gwen goes to clean a room and sees a car outside the motel from the window. It seemed like the person in the car was watching Gwen. Well, not paying attention to it, she goes back to the reception. She was hungry now, so she ordered food and suddenly got a call from room 13. There was no one in room 13. Scared, when Gwen picked up the phone, she heard a woman laughing from behind. Gwen got scared and hung up the phone. Gwen wanted to know who was in room 13. Sensing something wrong, she went outside room 13 with a knife. Upon entering, we don't see anyone, but Gwen felt like someone was following her. Scared, she picked up the phone, and suddenly, a shadow comes up behind her. Showing its true face, the shadow whispers in Gwen's ear, "This is for you." Hearing this, Gwen gets scared. She panics and quickly runs out of the room. In room 6, a girl named Alice saw Gwen, and seeing her scared, asked, "Are you okay?" Gwen nodded, and we learned that Alice was a good girl. The red hands we saw earlier weren't bloody. She was coloring her hair. The hairdryer in her room was broken. She came to Gwen to get it replaced. Gwen takes her to the storeroom and makes the mistake she shouldn't have. She didn't place the brick in front of the door, and the door got locked. Gwen and Alice got scared. Gwen tells her that now it can only be opened in the morning when Teddy comes. Suddenly, Alice felt someone touch her shoulder, but it turned out to be a big rat. When Alice realized this, she got even more scared and started screaming. She was disgusted by the rat. She told Gwen, "You are so careless. My phone is in the room. Now I don't know what we'll do." Suddenly, a man came out of the storeroom. When Gwen saw him, she got scared, thinking he was the same man who was watching her from the car. But here it turned out that he was actually a delivery man. After that, the two girls breathed a sigh of relief, ate food together, and talked with each other. Alice tells Gwen her story that she had a fight with her mother, so she left her home and came here. The next morning, her boyfriend would come to pick her up, and she would leave. Hearing this, Gwen advises Alice to go back to her mother. Family is a great blessing. Alice thinks about it, and Gwen gets up to get a drink. When she goes outside, she sees that the car she saw earlier is still outside the motel, and someone is still watching Gwen. At first, it might have been Gwen's suspicion, but now she was sure someone was watching her. She panics and enters the motel, dropping the bottles from her hands. Alice asks what happened and offers to help Gwen clean up the glass, but Gwen scolds her and tells her to go away. A rich couple comes to take a room here. This couple was very rude and mistreated Gwen, so she charged them for the whole night instead of just 1 hour, even though they only wanted the room for an hour. Meanwhile, the man goes to his room and throws money at Gwen's face for the whole night. Gwen suspected that they were in the car, so she goes to check on them in their room. Here, they were spending time together. The girl also felt like someone was watching them. As soon as she came out of the room, Gwen hid behind a car. As soon as she went back to her room, Gwen left. When she passed by the pool, she felt like something was happening in the pool. As soon as she goes near the pool stand breaks and she falls into the pool. When she falls into the pool, a woman comes out of the pit, grabs Gwen and pulls her into the pool. It was not a woman but a ghost. Gwen also starts screaming loudly to see this. Alice heard her scream and came to help her. Alice somehow pulls her out of the pool and asks, "What did you see in the pool?" Gwen thought if she told the truth, Alice would think she was crazy. So she tells Alice, "Nothing, I just slipped into the pool." Alice and Gwen both go to the room, and Alice asks Gwen again, "Tell me, what did you see in the pool? Don't you know this place is haunted?" Hearing this, Gwen's face turned pale because she didn't know the truth about this place. Alice tells Gwen, "Yes, there are many famous stories about this place. That's why I came here, because I know no one will come looking for me here." Gwen unknowingly listens to Alice's words and gets angry inside, wondering why Teddy lied to her. Why didn't Teddy tell her the truth that this place is haunted? "I've seen a car outside the motel twice. I think it's following me." Alice asks, "Why do you think that car is following you?" Gwen starts telling her story and says, "When I was very young, a man named Walter broke into our house. He brutally killed my mother and sisters, but luckily, I survived. I ran away, and then that crazy man was sent to a mental asylum." Gwen tells her, "I found out that 2 days ago he escaped from the mental asylum. Now he's after me, as if he wants to kill me, and then his mission will be complete." Gwen had her mother's necklace. Gwen says, "The day my mother died, this necklace also disappeared with her, and now, 2 days ago, I found it in the mailbox. I think the killer took this necklace, and now sending it to me in the mailbox is a warning for me." Hearing her story, Alice gets very upset, and at the same time, she is also scared. She tells Gwen, "You should immediately tell the police about this." But Gwen says, "No, I can't do that because I only suspect this car. I'm not sure, and I can't tell the police anything based on suspicion." Now, Gwen had decided that she would leave this place. Before leaving, she tells Alice to lock her door and leave here in the morning. Alice says, "Yes, I will leave. I've thought about what you said, and I realized that my mother loves me very much. I will go back to her in the morning and apologize to her." Before leaving, Gwen goes to the reception to collect her belongings, where she sees a ghost on CCTV. Suddenly, the same ghost starts following her. Seeing this, Gwen gets scared and calls Teddy from the motel's phone, starts saying bad things to him. Teddy tries to calm her down and says, "I've been running this motel for so many years. How is it possible that I don't know if it's haunted or not?" "Relax, I'm coming in a while," Teddy says. After Gwen disconnects the call, a man enters the motel. He appeared fine from the outside, but the way he was looking at Gwen was very strange. He asks Gwen for a room. Gwen gives him a room in exchange for money, but she suspects that this is the same man who killed her mother and sisters. As soon as Gwen goes to show him the room, she stabs the man with a knife because she thinks he is the killer. But the biggest twist in the story is that the person she thought was the killer was not the killer, but a doctor. This was Gwen's doctor. There was no killer. Gwen herself was the murderer. The truth is that Gwen was a psychopath and had been placed in a mental hospital. 2 days earlier, Gwen had escaped from there, and years ago she had murdered her mother and sisters. But she had never believed it. She only believed the story she had created in her mind. The ghost she was seeing was just a hallucination. This place wasn't haunted. The doctor had come to catch Gwen because he knew how dangerous she was. At that time, there were 2 nurses with the doctor, whom Gwen brutally murdered. Alice heard footsteps, and she also came out of her room because she knew someone was about to attack Gwen. As soon as she goes into the other room to save Gwen, she sees someone else's body instead of Gwen's. It was the doctor's body, with the tongue cut off and thrown away, and all of this was done by Gwen. Gwen was not in her senses. Alice was also very scared of her. Seeing all this, a confused and anxious Alice was not given a chance to escape by Gwen, who then brutally killed her. The motel owner, Teddy, arrives, but Gwen doesn't spare him. Before entering the motel, she brutally attacks him and kills him. The scene is a few weeks later, revealing that Gwen has now become the owner of the motel. She has also had the motel beautifully renovated. A guest comes to Gwen's motel for a booking. Gwen warmly welcomes him, but somewhere on the wall of the motel, a bloodstain is shown, serving as a warning that whoever comes to Gwen's motel, Gwen will kill them. Gwen will now kill her new customer with whom she was talking, and this is how the story ends.